All right, all right. Let's get started. So, for people that might just have tuned in, this is gonna be Peach's like all the legal stages. So Yoshi's, Battlefield, Dreamland, Stadium, FOD, and Final Destination. We're gonna rank all these stages for Peach against all these characters. Uh, some people think it was like a little bit confusing when I did like worst to best. So on this one, instead, we're gonna do from best to worst for Peach in each matchup. All right, all right. So against Puff, you don't play Peach at all. Every stage is unviable. No, but on a serious note, the matchup is trash, but I'm still gonna do my best to rank the stages. Uh, it's hard though. It's hard. I'll probably take. Okay, so yeah, this is from best to worst. I'll probably put Dreamland. Of course, Puff does survive a lot longer, but in this matchup, I personally value Room. If you do get rested, then it's going to be the hardest to come back on Dreamland. But I feel like in order to win the match at all, you need to avoid the rest period. And on this stage, you get more room to work with. It can be quite hard for Peach to deal with Puff, especially without turnips, to never have them available, getting cornered. So close quarters, I think, is a pretty bad idea. So Dreamland gives you a lot of room to work with. It's still awful, but I personally would pick Dreamland. After that, I personally always I picked FD against both Mango and Hungerbox's Puff, and it's a bit similar to FD, quite wide. You don't have the platforms. I did a bit earlier on the off the top, and Puff will get more kills upwards. So the ceiling being lower can be quite annoying, but overall, still same thing here. More room to work with. You don't get cornered as easily. You will be able to pull turnips. Stadium, I would probably put this the third. Also similar reasoning to the other stages. Wide stage, more room to work with, turnips. The thing is, I feel like it's not too much in this matchup to like. I don't feel super strongly about the stages in this one, so it might not be the most like crazy part of the talk. Yeah, I feel like we're basically just going in order of the stage size. Battlefield, a bit bigger as well than Yoshi's FOD. Yoshi's, the reason I put it higher is as better for Peach. Even though it's like slightly smaller, you do kill quite a bit easier, and since the size difference is so small, in this particular case, I would probably prefer being able to kill quite a bit easier. And Randall can also help out Peach more than Puff, because Puff's recovery is so good that she's immune to edge guards against every character, besides herself, I guess. But having Randall can help Peach. So I would... that's why I would put Yoshi's as the second worst, and then FOD as the worst. But to be fair, I also haven't really played Peach Puff in like 4.5 years, which is the last time I played the matchup, like seriously. And then I was like, yeah, my belief from like a decade prior was more than correct. Against Marth, best stage by far Dreamland. This one is not debatable. Even though I think Marth, like, he doesn't do bad on Dreamland, it's still clearly his worst. Marth is like one of the top characters that can struggle killing the most. And on Dreamland against Peach, against Peach, Puff, Samus, that can really show. Sometimes you know you live to like 190, stuff like that. Marth is still really good at keeping, you know, keeping advantage. Like if he has you on the ledge, it's hard to get back up, stuff like that. But the more room for turnips is really good. I think turnips are incredibly important against Marth, and you have more room to pull turnips on this stage. So I personally say Dreamland is the best stage by far. Second best, here it becomes a little bit more debatable. Because I kind of feel like it depends on the Marth. All these three stages, Stadium, Battlefield, and Yoshi's, I feel like all of them have an argument for being second, third, and fourth worst. Damn, that's rough. Because like against Mewtwo King, it's funny because me and Mewtwo King, we started like stages we picked. I used to pick Stadium against him, but started picking more Yoshis towards the end. For example, ooh, this is rough. No, I will probably pick Battlefield. As second best. Actually, okay. These two are debatable. I will put Stadium as fourth. Stadium. Okay, I think I will put it like this. All right, we start from this end. So we have talked about Dreamland. FD clearly the worst. Peach has a really hard time to get down. Once you're above Marth, it's so hard. No platforms means recoveries are also way harder. So it's way harder to get back on stage. So even though Peach has a good recovery getting to the ledge, or you know, getting kind of back to the stage, it's really hard to get back in neutral, especially against Marth. FD, I would say, is by far the worst stage. My record on that stage against Mewtwo King is fucking awful, especially considering the fact that my overall set records against him were very good. They got more even in the last like year, 2 years. Mewtwo King very clearly got better at the matchup, but even like in sets I did win, like when I did win like a very large portion of the sets, FD I almost never took games. Against PPMD, it was by far my worst stage against him too. If you are relatively good at playing around turnips, then FD is by far Peach's worst stage. Some Marth players are not nearly as good at playing around the turnips. Against these Marths, I don't mind FD nearly as much, but that's more them actually being bad against that particular style. But yeah, FD by far the worst. FOD, this might sound weird for a lot of people because I know people always are surprised when Mewtwo King counterpicked this stage against me. But side platforms disappearing can kind of turn it into like a mini FD. Also having having little room at times can be quite annoying. I'm not really a big fan of this stage, period, I would say. At times you might, you know, get like some cheesy down smash. But I'm not a big fan of this stage. Stadium is kind of like... It's actually the most similar to FD of all the stages. I did use the counterpick here more back in the day, mainly to get more space, pull more turnips. But I feel like the better the Marth players became at playing around that style, the worse this stage became. It was more and more similar to FD. Like, as I said, I used to pick it against Mewtwo King, but towards the end, I never picked this stage. It was more of his counterpick than mine in the last year or so. And against PPMD, it was also like not really one of my better stages, I would say. So the more I played against Marths, the more I felt like Stadium, too similar to FD, and FD, as we talked about earlier, equals bad. Battlefield Yoshis, here you can clearly make an argument either side. I don't really feel super strongly for, you know, Yoshi second, Battlefield second. The thing Yoshi's does have is Randall again. Like, some people might think I overstate that, but I think Randall in the Marth matchup is actually pretty big. Peach is so bad at getting back from the ledge against Marth. But having Randall means that you can like go down on Randall, grab a turnip, and that significantly increases your chances of getting back on stage. That's actually the main reason against Mewtwo King I started counterpicking Yoshi's, because Mewtwo King is really good at making Peach suffer when she's trying to come back. But Randall, it significantly decreased his success ratio of keeping me off the level. I think it was at some point Mewtwo King was like, we should remove Randall. Peach is too good with Randall. I was like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Battlefield can be quite annoying. Top platform, unlike Yoshi's, you don't reach the top platform with a full hop aerial. So that can be pretty bad for Peach. That top platform is more of a safe spot. On Yoshi's, being on the top platform, not nearly as safe because Peach full up air, full up nair reaches. So I think these factors makes Yoshi's better for Peach. But the thing is also to remember here is that certain players have certain strengths and weaknesses. So this list is more like overall rather than like against every Marth. You should follow this list. Like, if you play against a Marth that is really bad on FD, then sure, play FD. If it works out for you, do it. So this is, yeah, more on average. Against Falco, FD, clearly the best stage. Not that I think Falco does very bad on this stage or anything, but he is quite a bit easier to get a grab on than Fox. He's not as fast. Platforms are also really good for Falco in terms of like lasering from platforms to challenge Peach float height from, you know, quite some distance away. That's not there in FD. The chain grabs are very devastating, obviously. FD, yeah, by far the best stage in this matchup. It's undebatable. I would say Dreamland. Dreamland is the second best, but it can be annoying if what is it called? The Falco top platform camps. Peach is very bad against top platform camping. So against these players, it might not be the second best, but on average, I think the fact that you survive for so long, the only way you're gonna die early is pretty much if you mess up DIs on certain combos to get down air. Like you DI in on a forward air, for example. So Falco do fair down air. But yeah, really long survivability. So you get more neutral exchanges. You get Falco off the level from, you know, the same type of punishes as you do on these 5 stages. So I think Dreamland clearly is second best. Third best, I would say FOD. FOD share, you know, a little bit of similarities with Yoshi's and Battlefield, of course. But here, the platform heights can you know, more often be beneficial for Peach. The platforms getting removed means short chain grabs, not nearly as good as on FD, of course, but they're still there. High top ceiling is good for Peach because Peach is much more likely dying off the top than Falco. Falco dies more to, you know, the side. You also, it's a little bit gimmicky, but if you get spiked on this stage, if you don't use your double jump, you can actually Peach Bomber up, use your double jump, and you actually can reach the ledge. So it's a little bit, you know, gimmicky. Good players probably still will not let you back, but it could happen. Could happen. After that, I would probably say Battlefield. A little bit similar to Yo, Disciple. Thank you for the 29 months, buddy. How are you doing? So Peach Falco Battlefield, top platform, similar to Dreamland, can be really annoying. Full hop aerial is not reaching here. So against some players, you will have to play the patient game. But you have a little bit more room to work with. Like, we're going to place these stages as well. Like, Yoshi's is clearly the worst. Falco, like, even if the top platform is not a safe spot for Falco, the fact that from the top platform he gets all the way from the top platform to the edge so quickly is, like, you feel attacked at all times, even when Falco is not close. Double shines off the top. It will happen occasionally. Even if you're super good, Falco can like overshoot his shine to read the DI. So even if you're like trying to DI perfectly, you will get caught by double shines every now and then. I think this is clearly the hardest stage in the matchup. I do not like fighting Falcos here. Stadium. I don't feel too bad about Stadium or Battlefield, but like Stadium is still second worst. Mainly from transformations favoring Falco, I would say, and from low ceiling. But yeah, it's not nearly as bad as Yoshi's, but I would still say it's the second worst for sure. All right, so against Sheik, I would probably put Dreamland as the best against Sheik. For me, I always pretty much in Peach matchups value being able to survive long. It's a good strength to have. This also could be sometimes, the better player factor, that longer games tends to favor the better player. But I still think on average, it's probably Peach's best stage against Sheik. Camping can be annoying, but yeah, I like Dreamland. I'll probably put FD as second best. No platforms means Sheik has to fight straight up more. No platforms available for shield drops. Sheik's recovery gets a bit worse on this stage, not being able to land on any platforms. Jesus, we're going over the Peach matchups today. Yesterday it was Fox. So yeah, FD I would say second best. After that, it's rough. I actually do think Peach loses this matchup on every stage, to be quite honest. I'll probably put Battlefield third. It's a pretty neutral stage in most matchups. Like, so Battlefield tends to end up in like the middle section on these type of lists. The most annoying thing, once again, is the top platform. But besides that, yeah, it's, not super big, not super small. Everything is kind of like average on this stage. Yo, Quark, thank you for the 3 months. Thank you so much. Stadium, I'll probably put here. A little bit more room to work with than FOD. FOD, I don't know why. I don't know why. This one I'm probably the worst at explaining, but Sheik can feel kind of weird to fight on this stage. Yoshi's is the most scary. You die so early from all the confirms. The side platform can be annoying with sweet spot up smash if you roll in. So then some people might say, oh, but don't roll in. But if you never roll in, then that also makes you more predictable. But yeah, main factor on Yoshi's, you die so early. You die so early on this stage, and I really don't like it. In PAL, I wouldn't mind this stage as much, since Sheik doesn't have, down throw fair, down throw upper confirms. But in NTSC, which we base this on, that will happen. So yeah, this is how I would rank the stages from best to worst for Peach against Sheik. Against Falcon, I'm kind of like Dreamland, FD, Dreamland, FD. This actually might be the only fast follower matchup where I actually prefer Dreamland over FD. The chain grab against Falcon is not as strong as it is against Fox and Falco, so that could be part of the reason. Dreamland, again, the extra survivability really comes nicely in hands. And the thing is, a lot of times, even if you get caught by certain Falcon combos leading into knee, you will often survive. While on other stages you still might die, even if you're doing a lot of things correctly in terms of the eye, you might die in these other stages. But Dreamland having so wide blast zones, those knees normally don't kill. And I honestly think a lot of floaty players have awful DI versus Falcon. So wide blast zones, surviving longer, like it will help a lot. The annoying thing with Dreamland over FD is that uppy edge cancels, they're actually really hard to cover as Peach since you're so slow. They obviously don't really exist in FD except for at the very edge. Someone like None is really good at doing that. But I still prefer the survivability. Falcon's tech roll is also quite slow, so platform tech chases becomes quite a bit easier. Ooh, I'm not sure. I personally prefer playing on Battlefield, but I'm not sure if Battlefield is actually... FOD is probably better. It didn't, like, a lot of Falcon's moves kind of gets like fucked up by the platform heights. So that is clearly more annoying for Falcon than for Peach. I just personally am not the biggest fan of FOD, even though I started playing it more and more against Spaceys specifically. But even if I personally would pick Battlefield against Falcons out of comfort, I do think FOD is better since the platforms kind of screw with Falcons' movement. Battlefield feels by far the most neutral in this matchup, I would say. It's like, yeah. It's probably the stage in the matchup where, neither character don't gain or lose too much. Again, it could be a thing if Falcon top platform camps a lot. Then it could be annoying. Stadium Yoshis. Nah, I'll probably put it this way. Yoshi's really volatile, and a lot of times, even if you make a lot of correct DIs and stuff, you will die on this stage. So Peach's survivability, which is normally a really strong attribute to the character, is removed a lot on Yoshi's specifically. So for me against Falcons, I pretty much always banned Yoshi's. Some exceptions, some Falcons might clearly prefer Stadium over Yoshi's. Then that could impact my choice. But on average, against top level Falcons, I would say Yoshi's is the worst. Stadium can be a little bit annoying, giving Falcon a lot of room to work with. He's really fast. He's pretty good at boxing Peach out. But still don't think it's as bad. Peach Fox, we actually did this one yesterday. So instead of repeating myself, I would recommend checking out the Fox video, because then I talk about Peach Fox for all the matchups, or for all the stages in that matchup. Against Ices, again, yeah, Dreamland very often best stage for Peach. Dreamland, it gives you platforms. Against Ices, having platforms is for the most part a really good thing, because it decreases the chances of getting wobbled. So that's a good thing. On this stage, you can use like camp more, like make it very hard for Ices to actually get a wobble. And if they don't get a wobble, then it takes them even longer to like straight up kill you. I think this is clearly Peach's best stage in the matchup. But even though FD don't have any platforms, I'm actually not sure. I never was a, I never really disliked FD, but I feel like it was partly the ICs not making the best usage of the stage. Nah, I'll still probably put Stadium a second. It is kind of like FD, but you still have the platforms as a comfort. If you're not really sure when to, like, where to land, how to land, it's nice to have the platform option. FD, you always have to like take that risk of landing on the ground one way or another, or going to ledge, but Peach is really bad there. So having those platforms, yeah, good comfort for sure. After that, I would actually take FD though. I don't really mind this stage. The bad thing with platforms against ICs as Peach is that they can be quite annoying to approach, because the platforms are at a kind of awkward height for Peach's float. So sometimes it can be annoying to like approach them when they are camping underneath the platform, unless you're standing on the platform throwing turnips across the stage. But that really shouldn't net you much damage. So yeah, then that's the good thing with no platforms, that ICs can't really hide under the platforms on this stage because it is no platforms. Ooh, these three stages, I don't know. I feel like the only two stages I ever dropped games on against ICs was on... No, actually I dropped one on Yoshi's, one on Battlefield, and one on FD. That's true. Yeah, I lost 3 games to Chew in my career, and that's the only ICs. And I'm pretty sure it was once Battlefield at HF LAN, Yoshi's in Australia, and FD was at Air in the UK. But even with that said, well, to be fair, FD I've played by far the most in the matchup. I'll probably put it this way. Yoshi's much more likely dying to stray hits, bad DIs, costing you more. Even non-bad DIs, you still die early to, like, smash attacks. Backer is still relatively strong. So the extra survivability on Battlefield and FOD, I think, gives an edge. Battlefield, you can hide under the platform pretty nicely, but I still value very highly avoiding wobbles, or wobbling. I love wobbles, the commentator. But yeah, the platforms disappearing on FOD can be quite annoying to deal with at times. So yeah, I think this is how I would rank the stages, Peach ICs. But regardless of stage, Peach wins. Peach wins very clearly. And a lot will come down to preference as well, as always with stages. But I'm pretty sure this is how I would rank stages from best to worst, Peach ICs. But yeah, that's going to be all the Peach stages against the top 8 characters. Please let me know, everyone, what you guys think. Any stages you agree/disagree with.